Hey guys, Buckeye Bar guys. We wanted to thank you guys for tuning in to us here on Buckeye Bar Talk. Great show we got coming up today. We're really looking forward to you guys listening and watching it. But just wanted to remind everybody, just remember to subscribe to the channel, hit the all notifications bell, and that way, anytime a new show comes up, you guys will be alerted to it. And don't forget to like the video and comment on the video. All interactions with us helps us continue to grow, and we appreciate your support. Now to the show.
Welcome back, everybody, to Buckeye Bar Guys here on Buckeye Bar Talk. I'm Mike.
And I'm John.
Tonight's date is Thursday, November 10th, 2022, and we're going to be talking about this upcoming game against Indiana on Saturday. So we're going to get right into it, and we'll discuss, before we get going with Indiana, we're going to talk about the rankings from this past week, then Indiana, then do our score stuff, and pretty much be on here. So rankings, we had Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU, Tennessee, and Oregon. That's correct, the order?
Yeah, that's the correct top six.
All right, so that's it to your top six. So go. What do you think? First thoughts?
I'm good with it. I mean, I think Tennessee got handled, but they got handled by Georgia, so I'm okay with them only falling from 1 to 5. Michigan, Ohio State, I thought that could have really been a toss-up who was 2, who was 3, but end of the day, Ohio State did win by 2 scores on the road, even though it was a crap opponent. And I know Michigan was on the road too, and they won by a lot more than 2 scores against Rutgers, but they did have better weather. Not that that's an excuse, but
we knew
kind of is.
Yeah, we knew that. I mean,
but they were also coming from what, 5th? So, yeah. I mean, that's a hard jump in the eyes of the committee.
Yeah, we said the other day that, it was definitely that was going to be 2 and 3. We just weren't 100% sure which way. I said Ohio State 2. You said Michigan 2.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we got the top 4 right. We actually got the top 6. I'm pretty sure, right? Let's go back. I'm pretty sure we both had Tennessee and Oregon.
I thought that's what we said.
So, that's pretty much how we put it. So yeah, I mean, Michigan was kind of the toss up where they were going to fall. I mean, I agree with it, but I bet that was probably a pretty close conversation. They have looked a little, they've looked more impressive over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
we have. But I mean, everybody kind of knows that both sides have a lot of talent, and so it was probably just a coin flip even on their part. Ohio State had to. Did they do enough to lose to? And obviously they said no. And so that's going to be a sledgehammer competition game here in the next few weeks. So Ohio State needs to be ready for that. So I'm not surprised with anything in the top 6. A little bit about Bama. I was surprised that they held them into the top 10 with the second loss, considering, Ole Miss, they actually let them and Clemson still sit in front of Ole Miss. I figured Ole Miss was going to come up. I mean, we knew LSU was coming up. They did. We knew USC was coming up. They did. It was a little weird. I figured it would go Ole Miss, Alabama, Clemson. Like I don't have a problem with them keeping Alabama in front of Clemson necessarily, even though they have 2. Clemson has 1. It seemed like that. If Clemson played better competition this year, they would have dropped 2. I mean, they've had a lot of close calls.
I had more of an issue with Clemson, honestly, still being number 10 than Alabama being in the top 10. I mean, granted, Alabama, you'd say what you want. They lost an 8-1 team and a 7-2 team, and one was as time expired. The other one was in overtime. I mean, they've lost by 4 points this year. So
yeah.
Both on the road. I mean, not to give them, they're definitely not the dominant team that, we had seen in years past, but they're one of the better teams in the country. I mean, it's there that, you got to win the game. So essentially their season's over. I mean, I don't want to see the madness that has to happen to get them into the playoffs. But Clemson, I mean, I just think Clemson's looked very mortal all year long, and they've squeaked out some wins against teams that aren't that great, even though they've been ranked, probably higher than what they should be. And then finally, I mean, Notre Dame, who's Notre Dame this year?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, Buckeyes, and granted, it was week 1. They got, I mean, it's like an embarrassment that we only beat Notre Dame by 11 points, and Notre Dame was up 4 scores to nothing for a good amount of that game. So,
I mean, Notre Dame is playing a lot better now that they're starting to get more into, I think Marcus and Tommy Rees are starting to fill each other out a lot better than they were, early in the season. The guys are playing. I mean, there was a lot of interesting talking points after those first couple of weeks that, would Marcus even survive the season? And I think that now we see that he will, and, that they will probably be a much better team next year than they were this year.
I hope so. I mean, I hope the best for him. I still think it might have been too big of a job for, first move, but
did they move in? Are they in the playoffs?
Yeah. They're in 20.
Okay.
They're in the top 25 now. So Ohio State has 2 top 20 wins. They're at 20 and Penn State's at 15, I believe.
Okay.
And, I actually, which, it all, not to jinx, what's coming in a couple weeks, and these things are still going to change, but I'm pretty sure this still holds pat, out of all the top 15 matchups against each other this year, home team has won every single game except when Ohio State beat Penn State.
Okay.
So I thought that was pretty interesting.
You usually think that there would be a couple more,
and that might have changed over the weekend. I don't think it did though. So, and I mean, like I said, there's going to be more this week. Sure. Probably. I think there are. Right. Yeah. Because Alabama's traveling Ole Miss. So we'll see if they can win on the road or not. That might actually be the only one this week that we would be looking at.
Well, so the home teams won everyone, you said, in top 15 matchups?
Yeah, both teams are in the top 15.
So was LSU not in the top 15 last week?
LSU won.
Oh, but they were home. I always thought they were. Their away jerseys at home always gets me. Yeah, no, they were at home.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think that's kind of an interesting stat. I mean, the Buckeyes, they found a way to survive in Happy Valley, and right now they're the only team that's done that. So kudos to them. But like I said, Alabama will have their chance to right that ship this week, or they'll lose again to another top 15 team on the road.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be that game will be interesting. We'll talk about that a little bit later when we get into the, our kind of spread predictions and stuff. All right. Anything else you want to talk about with the playoffs? You were thinking of?
No, I mean it's going to keep being the same. Just do your business. Do what you got to do as Ohio State. Get into the playoffs, because every week you're going to see someone that you feel like is overranked just to, booster someone else up. I'm sure people are saying Notre Dame's ranked too high to give Ohio State a bump right now. So, it's going to be what it is in the eyes of, just depending on the fan base, depending on the conference, someone's going to have an issue with it. So, no, I don't got anything else to say. I mean, I'm always going to have the same critique for it. So it is what it is. Just do your business, win your games, you're in.
Like, one last thing, and then we'll talk about this a little bit more as the weeks go on. With multiple losses on the west side of the SEC, assuming that, LSU makes it in with 2 losses, I think the interesting thing is Georgia beating LSU. Is that a better win at the end of the day than whoever wins the Ohio State Michigan game and then winning the Big Ten title? And could one of them end up being number 1? Because, I mean, that's going to be very much in the mindset of a lot of people at the end of the day.
That's a tall mountain to climb when you're talking about an undefeated SEC team that's coming off of a national title year. So I don't think that either one, Ohio State or Michigan's going to end up number 1 unless they get some help and Georgia loses the SEC title game. Just my opinion. What I think could be an interesting turn of events, though, what if Ole Miss beats Alabama? Ole Miss doesn't make the SEC championship game, but what if they're sitting there with only 1 loss in the West?
It's weird because, at that point, and it's kind of weird to say this, how good of a win is the Alabama win considered at that point, because that's their 3rd loss.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, but I mean, I think if this top, if the 3 of the top 4 that we have now stands pat, considering the only loss is going to be Ohio State or Michigan, I think Ohio State, depending on that loss, I think that loser is probably in better position than Ole Miss. Personally, that's just me.
Yeah.
But, I also don't know how any of the one losses hold up against, say, a one loss USC or one loss Oregon, winning the Pac-12. So, I mean,
Well, USC still needs help, though. Utah beat them.
No, that's right. They did beat them.
So they might not even get to that game.
That's right. Yeah. Well, if Oregon wins, if they would win as an undefeated Pac and within Pac play in that one loss to, Georgia, which is a nasty loss, but, Georgia theoretically probably could have done almost the same thing to Tennessee. And it seemed like they just kind of played Georgia football when they got up on them. They weren't really in a pressure point to try to embarrass them at that point.
I mean, they took the foot off the gas for sure in that second half.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, definitely a lot of stuff, interesting stuff to, look at for in the weeks to come. Alrighty. Indiana, the mighty Hoosiers coming to Columbus. Big noon kickoff. So the whole gang will be in Columbus. It'll be a Gus and Joel game. It'll be interesting. I think we'll probably find out this weekend that I don't know necessarily what's on is TCU Texas playing next weekend?
That's this weekend.
So
yeah.
I have a feeling that we're probably going to end up being big noon next weekend too. We're
in the 6-day window, so we don't know when it's going to play out.
It kind of seems like to me that they will choose us unless there's a better noon game, but I don't know.
Did I read it's an ESPN game though?
Oh, is it? Well, no, maybe
I might be wrong. I know we don't know the time yet, but I think they announced the channel.
Okay, so
I could be wrong.
I could actually see that then being a 3:30 game just to try to. I mean, I don't know necessarily what they have in the 3:30 window, but but I could see it being a 3:30 just to get Ohio State on in a midday window.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Real quick, this isn't going to be a huge breakdown or anything. So pretty much this is how this is going. Ohio State's scoring damn near close to double what Indiana's scoring a game. They're giving up about half of what Indiana's giving up point wise in the game. Of course, out yarding them, giving up less yards. So Indiana's coming in on a 6-game losing streak. They started off 3-0 and now they're 3-6.
Seems as well deserved for them that the one team to come back down to earth a little bit after they're a little, those couple years where like Indiana's they're a real football team now.
Well, that COVID year, that just angered me so much that they thought they deserved to be in the Big Ten title game. But they have played some close games. Rutgers, they played close. Maryland, they played close.
Michigan, they played close for a half.
For a half, they were tied with Michigan for a half, and then Michigan blew their doors off in the second half. I feel like Indiana or Cincinnati and them were close. I don't got the score right in front of me, but so I think they've played a lot of close games. They're not good though.
Yeah.
And they got their doors blown off by Penn State last week, which you and I kind of thought that Penn State was maybe going to have a sleepwalking game because, Ohio State broke their hearts in Happy Valley and that Franklin's good for those. But now he took it to Indiana last week.
Yeah, they took out their frustrations from the week before. They took them out to the shed.
Yeah, it happens. Indiana shouldn't be playing with Penn State anyway, so they're not a good enough team. So, yeah, I don't expect this one to be particularly pretty. I think it's cold. I think we're looking at 40-degree weather. Wind is going to be anywhere, they said, I think from like 10 to 20 miles per hour. So I think the gust might be getting up to like 20, 25, not getting up to 50 mile per hour winds like you were dealing with last weekend.
I know the tropical storm's hitting the southeast right now. We're not expected to get any rain, are we?
Tomorrow.
Okay. So
on Friday, we're supposed to get rain, but I think it's going to be dry.
Okay.
Well, I can double check on that. It was dry last I seen. But I'm going to try to pull up weather app, see if it actually loads. Probably won't. Oh, well. Yeah. That's not last I saw, we weren't supposed to be getting any rain. So hopefully that stays the way it is. So yeah, I don't know. I think this could be an offensive explosion for Ohio State. Indiana's defense is no good. Indiana's offense is no good. And I think Ohio State's kind of frustrated with just some criticisms on their offense the last couple of weeks. And I think that's kind of like the perfect storm for things just to explode for them.
Yeah, no, I agree. That I think that they're going to be probably in a better position this week. I think they're going to want to make a statement. I think so. Ryan Day did bring up some points today. I just wanted to get your kind of just quick thoughts. That it seems like he is definitely going into this to try to give Chip and Dallin more touches. So, like, are we assuming one of them's probably definitely sitting out of the main two, and maybe he does want to keep the other one's legs maybe a little fresh and see if because I mean he harped on it. It seemed like he harped on it a couple different points today that he definitely wants to get them in to kind of see, especially had to see what Chip's about, so, maybe in more meaningful playing.
Well, maybe he's just saying hopefully they're up 28-0 at the end of the first quarter. I mean, I hope that's the situation that you're just blowing the doors off these guys, that you get your backups in a lot earlier than what you've been afforded the opportunity to so far this year. But I do kind of think the wording was kind of strange. I think if anything that would, kind of lean towards Trey, but we've kind of felt that we've kind of like been wrong each week of which one's going to play and which one isn't. So who knows? That could be Mayan this week. He had a great game in Northwestern, but maybe, something's lingering and they want to give him some more rest. I don't know. I mean, maybe neither plays.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope one plays because it's just, you need that. I like having that, safety net in case, but yeah, I think there is something with the wording that it does seem like, one of them might be sitting again. But then again, like I said, maybe that's just him saying that hopefully they're in a position where they're up, big real early.
Yeah. So for Saturday, it is going to be 40 is going to be the high for the day. 5 to 10 mile per hour winds and AM rain/snow showers. So, I mean, that can mean over, middle of the nighttime. So I don't think it's going to be anything crazy snow showers, but
yeah,
probably just because it's cold temperatures as in the night and then moving into morning. So, so that's what they're calling for Columbus.
Cool.
So yeah, nothing too crazy. I mean, the wind's under control, so I don't see how they, even with the rain, if it's not crazy wind, they should be fine in that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, offensively, I'm going to say player of the game. You're ready to go into all this stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. So offensive player of the game, though, I think that I really think they're going to try to get back into running, like be dominant, but I don't know who's going to be their running back. So I think this could be like a Marv. No, I'm going to say Emeka Egbuka type game. I think he had a rough go against Northwestern. He only had like 1 or 2 catches. He dropped a for sure touchdown that they actually finally, beat somebody in the throw, made it past the last defender, and he dropped that at like 10-yard line or something. I mean, it was a great throw. So I think he's going to work his tail off to kind of get back to, get a real good statistical game. I could see him going for something like 2 touchdowns and over $150 receiving.
Yeah. You could have cheated there. I'm going to cheat. Whoever's the running back that shows up is going to be, I think, the player of the game.
I like giving an actual name. I don't like saying the guy that's going to be there.
No, I think it's going to be, whichever one. I do think they are going to try to run the ball because they got to get some confidence over the next couple of weeks. I don't care how good Indiana and Maryland's rush defenses are. You got to kind of get the line feeling good about themselves, the running backs feeling good about themselves. Confidence. There's a lot of a lot of it's, the players, the X's and O's and all that stuff. A lot of it's confidence too. And, get 2 good games under their belts where they feel good about themselves now running the ball. I was kind of expecting Northwestern to be that, and they had a good second half. And I was, happy that they ran the ball a lot better in the second half.
I think rewatching it, I thought they ran a lot better in the second half than what at 3:30 on that Saturday. I felt a lot better, over the last couple of days rewatching it than what I felt initially.
Yeah.
I thought it looked terrible when it was live, and then rewatching it. I think CJ his run, I mean, that opened up that look for most of the second half.
Yeah.
All right, defensive player of the game. I'm going to say Ronnie Hickman in this one. I feel like they're going to be throwing from behind a lot, and I think that's what Indiana's been doing all year long because they've been throwing a ton. And I think Ronnie, he's so strong in the run game, but he is a very athletic guy, and I think he'll be, have the chance to make a couple big plays in this one, an interception at least.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go with Tommy just because I think there's going to be an emphasis to really try to get back to, I mean, like we said last week was a wash just because we haven't seen them have a bad really game this year against the run. And it really was only really one bad series. And then Northwestern had a couple decent runs mixed out through the rest of the game. But
it was kind of maddening though that, Mirko made that miracle punt at the end of the third quarter. Yeah. That put them down on their 2-yard line, and they let them drive out of that. And they got like an 8-minute drive out of that going into the fourth quarter. Like, I don't know, you gotta just pin your ears back and get them down in the end zone.
Yeah. So I think there's going to be an emphasis to really shut down Indiana's running game and really get after the quarterback. So I'm saying Tommy. I think he'll be the defense player of the game.
I like that one. Any bold predictions? I know I didn't come in really thinking about any, but anything that stands out to you that you think this team will, be able to accomplish maybe that they haven't yet, or that there's some exploitation out there in this game?
I mean, this is going to sound crazy. Well, like I said, I do think that they're going to try to put an emphasis on it. So whoever it is, Mayan or Trey, they're going to have a 200-yard rushing game. I just think that there's going to be a lot of, and they're going to want to try to get it done as quick as possible because they are going to want to get them out, because I think a lot of it when he says he wants to get Chip and Dallin in there more is also kind of like whoever's the guy that comes in there is like, I got one, they're both kind of banged up and we're kind of switching. It seems like they switch out every other week which one's playing and which one's not. So I would like to see them just focus a lot on the running game, get them going, get them feeling good about themselves, get some good confidence. If this offensive line, they can get a 200-yard day out of one of their backs, it makes them feel good. And
that's going to make them feel really good for sure.
I think it's going to I just think it's going to be a point of emphasis. It's Indiana. They don't have to do anything crazy. And, they showed some of the CJ runs last week, so they don't have to do any of that stuff this week. Just get your basic running game going, run up middle of the field. You don't have to do anything fancy or anything like that. Just run straight, get your blocks, and, pick up chunks and chunks and chunks, and then things are going to break.
All right. So I'm going to flip defensive because I don't really have any bold predictions offensively. I actually got two. My first one is going to be that with all that passing that Ronnie Hickman's going to defend, there's going to be a lot of sacks because of that. Ohio State's going to get 8 sacks in this game. It's going to be a big day for the defensive line. And then my other one's actually going to be for Indiana. I believe Deshaun McCullough is going to intercept a pass off of CJ Stroud in this game.
Wow.
Or Deshaun, I don't know.
But we were joking. Do they try to keep him? There was kind of mentioned as jokes from some of the people on Twitter and stuff. Do they try to keep them away from the? He
could have been a part of this, man, and he would have fit in great in Knowles' defense as that hybrid type safety guy.
Yeah,
but I mean, they got Sonny Styles now, so I don't know. I mean, I don't know where he fits in long. I'm sure Knowles would take 2 of them. I don't think he's going to complain, considering Styles will probably be hybrid between linebacker and safety. McCullough could be also. I mean, it could be lethal. So yeah, if he wants to stay in Columbus, absolutely, he can stay.
Yeah, at that point, they might just be like, all right, Sonny, we're turning you into that hybrid linebacker Leo now. So,
right. I mean, but they're both, I think Sonny's a little bit, already bigger than what they are, but they're both 6'4", 6'5". Like, they're both just unicorns. I mean,
yeah,
it's crazy. All right. So let's talk some scores. Let me just go around. Oh, that's the Big 12. We don't care about them right now. All right, let's talk Big Ten football. So Ohio State, Indiana, of course, that's big noon. We'll get back to that one. Purdue travels over to Illinois. Illinois is still 21 in the country, 7-2. This is a noon game. Illinois is a 6.5 point favorite. So I don't know. I never know what to think about Purdue in games like this. Like last week, I think I said they're going to beat Iowa. Iowa smoked them, I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
And we also said we didn't think, they can't stand up against physical matchups. So you know what? I'm going to say Illinois is going to win this game. They're going to wear down Purdue, bounce back after that tough loss to Michigan State. And I'll say they cover that 6.5.
Yeah, I think they'll win by like 7-10. So I'll say they'll cover too.
Rutgers goes over to East Lansing. Both teams 4-5. Michigan State's a 10-point favorite. I mean, Michigan State, they were shorthanded. They beat up on Illinois last week. Michigan absolutely waxed Rutgers in the second half. I mean, they were beating them all game, and just finally everything came together in the second half. So I think Michigan State's going to win this game at home. I think that they're going to actually cover this. I think they're going to win by more than 10.
It's just 10. It's not 10.5.
It is 10 points.
I'm almost ready to.
I don't know. Everything's week by week.
I think
in the
it's.
Big Ten.
I think I was going to say that they're right there at 10. I'll say they're going to cover too. Michigan State will win, and they'll win by 2 touchdowns.
Michigan hosts Nebraska at 3:30. Michigan has 2 home games going right before they travel to Columbus. This is a 3:30. They're a 31-point favorite. Nebraska sucks. And I mean, we saw Oklahoma just absolutely annihilate them at the beginning of the year. So I don't think that they really match up talent wise. I mean, it's interesting, but I don't know, man. I've been really impressed with Michigan this year. I'm going to say that they cover this. I think they're going to win by at least, 32 to 35 points. That's a big number for Michigan too, but I think they can do it.
I think this is going to be the game we see a little pride out of Nebraska. I think Michigan's going to beat them by 24-28, but I don't think they're going to cover. It's just a big number. I think Nebraska's going to get really up for this game just because, it's a big game.
Yeah.
But Michigan will wear them down to a point that, I mean, me saying that they're going to lose by 24-28, it's not saying Nebraska's going to stick with them the whole game. I think Michigan will separate themselves as just, it's not going to be enough to get to, 32 or 31, whatever it was. It's right. I think still going to be a blowout.
Maryland travels to Happy Valley at 3:30. Penn State's sitting there as a 10-point favorite. I like Penn State to win, but I think Maryland's going to actually cover the spread. I think this is going to be somewhere between the 3 to 7 point range.
I actually think Penn State's going to cover. I think Maryland, even though it's a big game for them, I do think that, there's kind of like a lot of are they paying enough attention to Penn State, which they should be? It's Penn State, but are they looking a little bit about next week's home game? So, I'll say Penn State will beat them and they will cover.
Okay. Wisconsin at 3:30 heads over to Iowa. Wisconsin is a 1.5 point favorite. I mean, both teams have been playing better the last couple of weeks. I'm more impressed with Wisconsin's resurgence than I am with Iowa's. So even though they're on the road, I'm going to say just 1.5, not much. So I'm going to say Wisconsin covers this and wins on the road.
I actually think
that's actually, I'm going with it.
Yeah, I think Iowa's going to beat them in Kinnick. I just think they're slightly the better team out of the two, but it's not a lot. Neither team's been impressive this year, but I think Iowa will beat Wisconsin.
Northwestern goes to Minnesota. It's a 17.5 point spread. Minnesota's favor. I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends what weather's going to do in Minnesota. It's a 3:30 game. I think Minnesota's going to cover this, but who knows? Maybe they'll get some snowstorms or something out that way.
Yeah. I'll say Minnesota covers. I don't think Wisconsin or Northwestern is obviously that good. But they kept together somewhat of a game last week against us. But and obviously Minneapolis, you don't know what the weather is going to be like. I mean, they could have a blizzard for God's sakes at this point of the year.
Right.
It's still crazy to me that that's an outdoor stadium up there. But whatever. I remember when JT, how cold that game was.
He had a 90-yard touchdown run.
Yeah, it was like -1 or whatever.
And that's why people like you can't worry too much about really bad games and bad weather on the road. I mean, that team won a national title and they beat that Minnesota. I mean, they needed a lot of help in the fourth quarter. Like, I think they were losing parts of that game and they only won that by, I think, a touchdown. Okay, so we do got some bad games this weekend, but let's throw them out there. Missouri played a really close game with Georgia earlier this year. They go over to Neyland. They are a 20.5-point dog. I don't think they have the horses, honestly, to even stay in this game with Tennessee. So I'll give Tennessee a cover on that.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
LSU just beat Alabama, goes over to Arkansas. Arkansas's 5-4. This is a noon game. LSU's a 3.5-point favorite. I really don't know what to say about this one.
I kind of think that, I was going to say that they were not going to cover but win because I figured it was going to be a bigger spread. I think they'll cover and win. But I think they'll have a little hangover from last week. Big win. I think they are. Arkansas is a tough team, but I do think they are better than Arkansas. So I think they will beat Arkansas. But, it just, if they lose though, it's just going to be like, you're going to start just like, oh my God, they're going to have to play Texas A&M or Nick Saban's going to, send Nick Saban back into the damn.
At this point, Saban back in the SEC championship game might be the best thing.
Yeah.
I'll say LSU wins too, but I'm only giving them like a point victory. I think Arkansas is going to cover the spread. Okay. So we'll get to some actual like ranked versus ranked games or good versus good. So Alabama travels over, plays Oxford, right?
Yeah.
Travels over to Oxford. That's a 3:30 game. Alabama's a 12-point favorite. They are 7-2. Ole Miss is 8-1. Now remember, LSU came back and kind of handled Ole Miss in the second half of that game. And like I said, Alabama, I mean, they're that close to being 9-0. Yeah. Now they're also that close to being 5-4. Yeah. It's a really crazy year for Alabama. So 12 points feels like a lot when Alabama's kind of wounded and you're going against. If it wasn't Lane Kiffin on the other sideline, I would say Saban's going to be pissed and he's going to, run it up on whomever. But I think Lane's a really good coach. And I do think they're going to keep this within 12 points. I think Alabama's going to win on the road, but I don't think they're going to cover.
I have two conflicting feelings. Usually when Alabama loses, the next game you always assume is going to be a blowout because, they correct whatever mistakes they made.
And they just absolutely wipe the floor with whoever
they played. And, but at the same time, they don't usually lose 2 games in a season. So it's like, is there some dejectedness in the program that a very good Ole Miss team could keep this game kind of close? I've not been impressed with Alabama this year. I don't think outside of Bryce Young, I don't think their offense is that good. And,
Jahmyr Gibbs is really good.
He's good, but I think there's a lot of teams that have better backs than him. I
don't know. He's good.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, he's good, but I think that defensively, outside of a couple players, their secondary has been very suspect, so
yeah.
I'm going to say the second loss is going to defy the logic and it will be a closer game, but Alabama will win. I'm not going to go say that Ole Miss is going to win. Like I said, LSU was going to win last week. I got lucky on that one. So
you're not doubling down on that.
Ole Miss covers though. They're gonna but they'll lose. They'll lose by like a touchdown to 10.
All right, now I'm only saying this because Mississippi State is bowl eligible already. Number 1 Georgia goes over to the Mississippi State. This is a night game. Georgia's a 16-point favorite. Personally, I think Georgia's going to cover this. I don't think Leach's offense does enough to even stress that defense whatsoever. I think they're just going to bully the hell out of them. But we've seen Leach pull these upsets before.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back to kind of like what I was just kind of talking about with Alabama. Mississippi State, I believe, was the game after Tennessee, and Alabama handled them. And, that he can stretch it down the field. They do a lot of throwing. Georgia has some vulnerabilities in their secondary. It's just you don't get a lot of opportunities to get at their secondary because they are putting so much freaking pressure on the quarterback, and they shut your running game down and stuff. And I just think that they'll do that to Mississippi State. And what was the point spread again?
16.
Yeah, they'll usually cover. I think they'll blow them out.
Washington heads over to play Oregon at 7 p.m. Oregon's a 13-point favorite. Washington's sitting there number 25 in the country, 7-2, but I don't like that matchup on the road at nighttime. I think Oregon's going to cover this.
What's those point spread again?
13.
I actually think this game's going to be a little closer. I think is Penix, is he hurt or is he still the starter?
I have no idea. That guy's always hurt.
I don't know. Washington will be up for this game. It'll be like a 10-point win, I think, for Oregon. I think it'll be a high-scoring game, but I think, Washington will play them pretty tough. So I think Oregon will beat them, by 2 scores, but Washington will cover it.
9-0 TCU, ranked number 4 in the country, heads over to Austin at 7:30 p.m. Number 18 Texas, 6-3. Texas is a 7-point favorite.
I hate this one.
I don't know. I mean, I like TCU's offense a lot. I hate TCU's defense. I don't know what Texas you're going to get.
Yeah, what Texas are we seeing? You say that you can say that every single year over the last how many years is like, what Texas are we getting? Are we getting the Texas that,
TCU's come back in every game, though. Is this the one where they're finally, outside of Oklahoma, they just beat the doors off them from the beginning. But is this finally the game where they're snake bitten and it, comes back to catch up with them? Can they do what they did to Oklahoma, run the table on Texas? Do they come back again on them? So I'm going to say, I think it's going to go one more week at least. I think they will beat Texas.
Yeah,
on the road.
I think this is the week. This is the chaos. This is the end of the chaos. You got 2 undefeated teams going into the playoffs, and that's going to be Georgia and the real Big Ten championship game on
November 26th.
Here in 2 weekends. So, this is where TCU loses. Texas gets them.
Mm-hmm.
There's always chaos. We're gonna be arguing next week on what 1 and 2 loss teams deserve.
Right? Who's getting into the playoffs as a 3-loss conference loser? Yeah.
So this is where you're gonna get a lot of the arguments from. But yeah, Texas beats them.
All right. So let's just get to our game. Indiana heads to Columbus at noon. It's a big noon game on Fox. Ohio State stands as a 40-point favorite. I think the over-under is 59 points. So
they always give us such ridiculous. I mean, the last couple of weeks we've played like, so-so. And then it's like, yep, they're a 40-point favorite, throw it out there.
I think that if I'm not wrong, I think that would make it like 49.5 to 9.5 is what they're projecting the score to be. I don't know. I mean, I think Indiana's going to throw a lot in this game, so they might get a busted play that goes for a lot, or, they might hit a big run there because Ohio State's expecting the pass. I'm going to say 56 to 13. I'll give them 2 field goals and a touchdown. I don't know if they'll get that much or not. So that's a cover. So
yeah,
that's what I'm going.
I had 56 too. So I'm going to stay with the 56-7,
And that's kind of where I was, but I'll give them the 2 field goals or, another touchdown, whatever. I'll give them the 56-13, but it's not going to be a good game. I wouldn't imagine to be. I think Ohio State's, I know Tom Allen usually has something up his sleeve and kind of, he calls a good, his team's usually pretty good at delayed blitzes. Yeah. So maybe they can sneak a couple of those by, but I just don't see it going very well and them staying in the game very long.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So assuming Ohio State wins and we don't need to drink the peach crown this weekend, what
is a little nervous there for the last couple of weekends.
What is going to be our victory shot this weekend?
We're going with the Bullet.
All right, so we got some
Bullet for the Silver Bullets. They're going to have a big day on defense.
Bullet bourbon it will be. So, as always, Ohio State, don't let us down because we prefer bourbon over Peach Crown.
Yeah.
Yeah, that rhymed. Wow. Anyway, so I'm good to get on out of here. Mike, is there any final thoughts that you have?
Nope.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for stopping in tonight to the Buckeye Bar. I'm John.
And I'm Mike.
OH.
IO.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's Buckeye Bar Guys on Buckeye Bar Talk. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that all notifications bell so you see when new content is added. And please remember to like and share so we can grow our audience. Don't be afraid to comment. We want to know what you're thinking and we want to know what content to add for you guys. OH.
IO.